How's it going, YouTube? op.poker James here. Today it's session review time. We've got player Mech678, also known as Swordycow on our Discord. They are playing some 25-cent spin and goes. So last time we did a 25-cent spin and go, the plays were pretty crazy. This time, instead of it being a jackpot, it's a 5x multiplier. So we'll see if there's any difference between those and the jackpot. If you haven't seen that earlier footage, there should be a link in the description below for a 25-cent game with, I think it was a 100x multiplier, $30 prize pool. Anyway, let's jump in, see what happens. So this recording happened when the Tetris promo was live. It's just gone down for me today. I think it's finished. But I think the games were a little bit softer during this Tetris promo. I think they were really good value for the 25-cent games, so I'm sure lots of people were doing crazy stuff. I'm very not surprised that we immediately got a shove here. Yes, we're playing for 5 times the buy-in, but it is still 25 cents. I think we're going to have a lot of players like this on the micro stakes games. And the way to deal with it is just wait until you have a fairly decent hand and then call off. So King 9 off, far too weak, I would say. If you've got something like King Queen or King Queen suited, it starts to get closer. Or King 10 suited, hands like this. To start with, I would fold if it's the very first hand. But if they keep shoving, then you're going to want to call those suited Broadway hands and good ace hands. And something like 4s or 5s plus as well. So yeah. I don't think we can immediately mark someone as a recreational for shoving the button. There is some close EV plays with 2s, 3s, 4s and 5s, and I know that plenty of regs, even higher stakes, just shove those hands. I don't think it's quite solver approved, but it's not terrible. So I don't think you can immediately mark someone as a rec because of just shoving that first hand. I would want to wait for something more. Limping on the button, that is something we can mark for being a recreational though. 4-5, I would definitely try and see a flop. I like it. We haven't hit though. I don't see any reason to be trying to bluff this one at all. Being out of position, not very helpful. Okay, we got a pop bet and we'll fold. Nice. Let's see if we can get any reads on our opponents. Wow, okay, yeah. 10-7 suited. Actually not the worst hand to do that big overbet shove on. I guess it's not that bad. They've got the flush draw and a straight draw. And then queens, limping queens. That's, to me, that's weirder than how Polyudov played, to be honest. Limping the queens pre-flop. Maybe they were expecting this guy who shoved the button before to shove on them. I don't know. The poo's coming out. Poo flingy. I think they're just trying to goad this player. Okay, so what are we really trying to accomplish here? That's what I need to try and figure out. What I would have done, okay, so first thing what I would have done is there's very few times when I want to limp the button. We found one. Can you see why? Anyone watching, can you see why? So if we limp the button, Polyudov can shove, Elmas is probably going to call, and then we can isolate that dead money and reshove with King 9 suited. And we can do that with lots of our strong hands. I think it's a really decent play. You could also just limp, let them make it 2 big blinds, them call, and then just overcall King 9 suited. That's also fine, but I really like the idea of just getting the 2 big blinds worth of dead money, where if they had a strong hand, they're likely to have re-raised again, and if they don't, they just flat call it. So yeah, that's what I would have done. And now that we've got king high on this board, I don't think it's worth bluffing because we have to beat Polyudov's anyway. We have to beat their hand. And king high on this board hasn't hit so well. So I personally would just be trying to check down, trying to go to showdown, hoping that we're good. Yeah, and I don't really see too much of a reason to bet. So it worked out in this instance, but trying to build the pot up when there's no dead money around, where you're going to have to see a showdown. So even now, even though you got that player to fold by putting an extra 2 big blinds in, you still only got a 70% chance of winning that pot. So I wouldn't be betting here. Do win it though. Do take it down. Okay, so we're heads up. Okay, we'll face a limp with king 6. Hand that you could ISO against the limp if you wanted to, but checking is also completely fine. We haven't hit too well on this board, but having the 6 of diamonds does mean that if they bet 1 big blind, we want to stick around. There are 2 ways we can deal with this. We can check raise or we can check call. I wouldn't mind a check raise to start with, see how they face, how they deal with aggression. So yeah, a hand like this I would check raise because it does have some nice backdoor potential. So if you end up hitting a king, that's great. If you end up hitting a 5 or a 4, you've now got a straight draw. If you end up hitting a diamond, you now got a flush draw. You might have the best hand with king high still, to be fair. Yeah, and then a 6. If you hit a 6, you can slow down as well. So that's what I would do. I think that folding is slightly bad. I wouldn't say it's a huge leak. I'm sure I do it all the time, these kind of spots. But yeah, I think calling or raising are better options. Jack 9 suited. I don't mind just taking a stab here with Jack 9. Yeah, I like it. Just because our opponents often just fold when they haven't hit, often quite fit or fold types of players. Until you get a note on someone that they're a calling station, then I would stop. If they're just calling the flop with all sorts of crap, then I just stop betting those kind of hands. Okay, so Queen 5 limped pot and they checked behind. I would actually be trying to get to showdown with this hand. Queen high is very often good in a spot when they've checked behind. Now they should have far more ace-x than us, far more high cards than us, because they limped and we checked. So their limping range can have all sorts of traps. We know, for example, that they limped the button earlier with pocket queens, so they can have all sorts of strong hands. When they limp and we check, we're never checking against the limp with any of our strong hands. So we've got a capped range in this instance, and I think that it's just better to use hands like this to go down showdown with. If they're too passive, you can end up winning, which is nice. So by leading out on the turn now, this river, I don't know, do we have showdown value? Do we not? I'm not sure. I personally would try and check. And then maybe if I'm faced a really small bet, I would think about calling. Personally, I don't know the purpose or the point of this bet. What is this 3 big blind bet trying to do? Is it, I mean, other queen highs are probably going to fold once you bet. But king highs, I think, can call. I think a pair of 2s or better is definitely calling. An ace is calling. So, I mean, what is the point here of this bet? I don't like this bet. Yeah, I think that I would have just checked the turn. If they bet, so the pot would have been 2 on the turn. If they bet, I'd probably fold. I would have just kept it very simple. You've got now 2 occasions where your opponent has been trapping. So the first one was with queens, when they played it really passively, and now they've played top pair very passively by checking back on the flop. So you've got some notes here. I would say that when you start probing into them once they've checked back flops, don't go too crazy. Don't make any big overbets because they're checking too strong a range. on the other side, on the flip side of things, maybe you can start check raising their bets because they're more likely to be weak holdings. Okay, they check behind. So now that we know that they've checked behind such strong hands, I think betting a hand like Queen 3 here is a bad idea. You don't want to be building the pot up against those hands. Yeah, I don't really understand or like this bet. Again, especially against this type of opponent, where I think they can have a king, they can have a jack, they can have a 3. They've been very passive so far. So yeah, just check, try and get the showdown with the hand. You'll often be winning with the pair, but you don't want to be building the pot with it. And I'm not sure what the purpose of this river bet is. Are you trying to get an 8 to fold? Are you trying to get a jack to fold? Are you trying to get a king to fold? Because this size bet is not going to get them to fold. Maybe an 8 will fold, maybe. But everything better is going to call you and everything worse is going to fold. So I don't like this bet. It's just kind of... If I saw someone doing this, I'd make a note that they're just clicking buttons, basically. Because everything better than you is going to call and everything worse is going to fold. Just really not what you want in this spot. Okay, so Queen 9, I don't mind limping or raising. Go with the limp. We've got a gut shot on the flop. You could theoretically check behind, but I don't mind just taking a bet at it, taking a stab, trying to take the pot down right now. If we are called, I would recommend betting the turn quite often because you still have any 10 outs for a straight. Your queen is probably good. Your 9 might be good. So I'd keep betting quite often with those equity hands. On the turn, you've hit the queen and you bet half pot. I think that's fine. You could go a bit bigger. Could go for 3 big blinds. But yeah, 2 is fine. Wouldn't say it's a mistake at all. And the run out is very good for your range. You should be triple barreling here quite a lot. We've got plenty of bluffs in there. So I think you can go thin for value with Queen 9. I wouldn't go that big. Personally, if I'm playing the higher stake games, I would go for a half pot bet. But on the micros, I prefer looking at what do I want to get called by here. So Queen 9, I think if we bet like 2.5 to 3 big blinds, I think they can still call us with a jack, an 8, even a 3, just to look us up. Think that we might be bluffing. So I like going for a thin, small value bet rather than the bigger sizing. I'm not saying half pot is at all bad. In fact, it's almost definitely more solver approved than not. Okay, yeah, I like it. I like this. This is a good size bet, yeah. Unfortunately, they give up. 5-7. Okay. I would never lead out on a board like this. I think that most of our king highs are going to be most of our good king highs, the ones that we can handle a lot of pressure, are going to be raised against the limped pre-flop. So our range is fairly capped here. We shouldn't have pocket 2s, we shouldn't have pocket 5s, we shouldn't have pocket kings. Elmas could have all 3 of those combinations. And we don't. So I don't really like having a lead range here. We can have king 5, we can have 5-2, we can have king 2. So it's not, I guess it's not terrible. But yeah, I just prefer check calling this hand 5-7, just way easier to play. But yeah, I would just say it just puts you now in very, very tough spots if you're doing these kind of leads on these boards. Because now whenever you check, you're very weak. Yeah, and your opponent can just bet every single time if you check on a board like this. I don't think you can fold once you've led out the flop. I don't think this is a spot you should be folding. They can have plenty of straight draw type hands. They can have plenty of flush draw type hands. They could just have random stuff that floated the flop even. So I don't like folding there. I would have called king 4 off. I got shoved on. Okay, easy fold. Yep, I like shoving ace 5. I approve that. Jack 3, go for a limp. You haven't actually been min raising that much. I think you can min raise some more of these hands overall, range wise. I don't know if you're following any charts or not. Maybe you're just following charts and you're just getting unlucky with those hands, but I think you should and can be raising a higher percentage than what you have been in this game. If you do have charts and you're pretty sure they're good ones, don't listen to me at all. It's all good because the frequencies there should be right. It's just something I've noticed so far. All these kind of hands that you could raise, you haven't. So just thought I'd better say something in case you haven't really looked at it too much. So on this flop, I wouldn't mind checking back some of these top pair weak kicker hands, but you bet, that's fine. On the turn, we can go for a bet or a check. Yeah, I don't mind. As long as the bet isn't... Okay, yeah, half pot, fine. Pretty lame river, I have to say. Yuck. 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 How likely is it that someone's turning their hand into a bluff here on the 25-cent games? I would say pretty unlikely. So I think you have to make the fold. From what I saw about your mouse movements, you're going to make the fold, so that's nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people would make a mistake there and call. It's just not a run out where I think Elmas is going to bluff very often. Like, you've bet flop and you've bet turn. You can easily have flush draws yourself. You can easily have trip twos or something like this that are never folding. So yeah, I do like that you made the fold. That was a good fold to make. Some people get a bit too sticky with top pair there. Okay, Jack 2. Ace King board is very good for Elmas's range, so I wouldn't be leading out at all. Just be check folding. I would not be leading out. We've seen them trapping on ace high board already once before, and I think they're going to be doing it again very often. So I would not be leading out. What is the purpose of the lead out? You've got Jack high. The next best hand, slightly better than a Jack high, is a pair. Do I think a pair will fold if we bet the turn? No. So what is the purpose of the bet? Again, this is a spot where anything better than you is going to call and anything worse than you is going to fold. So I don't really like making these kind of bets. I think they don't have much of a purpose. I think you could just check. If they haven't hit at all, they're often going to just check all the way down anyway. So yeah, that's what I would have done. And you can win with your Jack high. Twos, I like shoving, yeah. That's good. King 4, if they limp, I would shove. But it's not entirely necessary. I just think they've been a bit passive. So again, same spot here. King high is almost the same as the Jack high from the earlier spot. If you're betting, what are you trying to get to fold that's better than you? Or what's the purpose? Is it a value bet? I don't understand. So I'm glad this time you checked. I like check calling, yeah. And then on the river, just hoping they don't bet again. I don't like how fast you check called. It kind of gives away that you don't have a monster type hand. You never have King 10 now. And I don't want them to think that we don't want them to narrow your range, right? Poker is all about how much information you have on someone, and making very, very fast calls can bring down the information quite a lot. Like, it's very unlikely you're going to be doing this with traps. It's very unlikely you're going to be doing it with semi-strong hands. Let's say you got Queen 10, for example. It's very unlikely you're going to snap check call. I think it's more likely you got to think about it and decide, do I want to raise here with Queen 10 for value, right? So they had Jack free. Not much to say about that. Your 10 big blinds, so definitely still play 6-7. I'm not sure why you're hovering over the fold button. Okay, good. That would be far too tight. We get shoved on, we got to fold. So yeah, what I've noticed so far is you looking at non-pair type hands as nothing. So king highs and jack highs and all these things do still have showdown value. Especially when they're the highest non-pair hand. Jack 2, I guess I don't mind if you fold that. Yeah, that's not so bad. I personally would have limped Jack 2. I think Elmas has been pretty passive so far, so I would try and play as many hands as I could from the button. So I would that include Jack 2 there. Ace Queen, we're going to shove. This is the first time they haven't limped as far as I can remember, other than maybe a shove. So it's going to be a very strong range. Lucky you've got a very strong hand. It's just going to be a strong hand. Yeah. I mean, what can you do? Not much you can do about that. I mean, you're 10 big blinds deep and you've got a hand that you'd normally be okay getting 40 big blinds in. So yeah, unlucky. What can I say? Yeah, I think you got plenty of stuff to work on. If we go back to some of these hands, yeah, hands like this Queen 5, you could have gone for showdown. There was a hand where you had Jack high as well. Leading out on that King 5 board, this one here, that was another spot. So yeah, plenty of stuff to look through. I hope this is useful for everyone else who is watching. If you are interested, I'm more than happy to do session reviews for you all. There will be a link down in the description on how to send me a session review. I like doing these videos. They're fairly simple for me to do. If you're looking at really trying to find stuff like a pre-flop game plan for spin and goes, we do have a low stakes spin and go course. You can find a link to that as well in the description. Got over 20 pre-flop charts that just simplify your thought process, and then you can focus on the important things, which is post-flop. Also got post-flop videos on how to play from each position. So playing from the small blind heads up, playing from the big blind heads up, and then other spots in spin and goes like blinds versus the button and how to play the button. So yeah, hopefully that'll help you out. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I'll keep pumping out more content like this. Anyway, I'll see you in the next session review and looking forward to seeing some more recordings sent in. Peace.